The Persona franchise since late 2022 has been multi-platform, meaning that no matter the system you're on, all the calendar system Persona games are at your fingertips. For better or for worse, it's no secret that Persona 3 Portable's HD AI upscale remastered mess isn't the best way to play that game, and since the re-release of Persona 4 Golden on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Switch, there's also been some changes to the fonts and the way how the game runs. If you're a casual Persona fan or it's your first time playing these games, they wouldn't be details you would notice, but for fans such as myself that played these games on the original hardware years ago, those miniature details mean a world of difference. Not like these games on PC can't be fixed with mods, as you can see in my footage, but what's the best way to play these games? There's a system. A console. A handheld one, as a matter of fact. And it's the PSP. Yes, that PSP. The one that launched back in 2005 has more Persona games than your Switch. The PSP has the Persona 1 remake, the Persona 2 duology, Innocent Sin, and Eternal Punishment. It has since also gotten a finished translation patch, which is super easy to install. Then there's Persona 3 Portable on the hardware it was actually intended for. Playing Portable on a modern PC monitor or a Steam Deck looks like ass with the remake, or even on an emulator. These games run well and are amazing entries into the franchise. Although they aren't all calendar system games, I'd argue that despite the games being very different alongside the Persona games, the PSP has plenty of JRPGs and experiences that would make a purchase of one valuable. Especially since if you thought it was surprisingly easy to hack your 3DS, the PSP is far easier since the adapters to allow for microSD card storage are mass-produced and are less than $2 on eBay, then the modding process is easy as googling softmod PSP and boom, that's it. So now you can play backups because fuck those prices for UMDs, a proprietary format that was so loud and drains your battery like a succubus drain. Actually, wait a minute, didn't I say that this was the best system to play Persona games? There's not actually any Persona games a modern Persona fan would want to play. They have Reload, for Christ's sake, Jesse, what were you thinking? Well, shit, my bad, I guess I misread, because it's actually the PlayStation Vita. The PlayStation Vita released 13 years ago in 2011 and was a competitor to the Nintendo 3DS. However, despite both the Vita and 3DS struggling at first due to the smartphone boom of the early 2010s, meaning that people were happier to play Angry Birds on their phones on the shitter than buying a dedicated handheld, which is a market that the PSP tried to bash into, this smartphone game market, by offering what they called PSP Minis, offering the mobile game experience for those who didn't have a smartphone yet. Meaning you got to experience the weirdest version of Angry Birds and the version of Jetpack Joyride where, as a kid, I accidentally maxed out all the equipment. Back on topic, the 3DS eventually picked up the pace in sales once some actual good games finally came out for it, and it got a huge price cut with a few re-releases too, with the 3DS XL, the 2DS, and the new variant models of the system. The 3DS ended up doing really well for Nintendo, but unfortunately for Sony, they released the PS Vita on a bad luck day in Japan, on the Rukuyo calendar, meaning, uh-oh. Okay, but who gives a shit? Like, it's the Vita. Well, why is the Vita the ultimate Persona console? Well, did you know the PS Vita has all the hardware to run PSP games natively? Yes, full hardware backwards compatibility, not a UMD drive. Hey, dipshit, tell me where the fuck the mini disc drive is. Yeah, it doesn't have one. It's by ROMs. So what makes the Vita better than the PSP? It's actually the Persona dancing games and Persona 4 Golden as God intended. So in actuality, you can play everything before P5, and then with PlayStation Remote Play, you can play Persona 5, Persona 5 Royal, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, fucking everything. Yes, you do need to do PS4 Remote Play, and that's why I'm not showing my own footage. I have a quiet PS4, also known as the PS5, which doesn't support the feature anymore. You can get a PlayStation Portal. Sorry I couldn't come up with a way to degrade it with its own name, but honestly it's enough of a disappointment as it is, so honestly it doesn't fucking matter. PlayStation Portal, Wii U, gamepad looking ass motherfucker. So what, I think the PS Vita, a system that can't play Persona 5, is better than getting a Switch? For $100 cheaper than a brand new Switch Lite, if you look around, and if you get the original fat PS Vita that has an OLED screen, is built solidly and has a good battery life, which is something the Switch cannot attest to having. The Slim lacks the OLED screen, but I've had this thing sat in a backpack for months at a time, and I've still been able to turn it on with a decent chunk of battery left, and don't take me for a Switch hater. I've over the years had every model of the Switch, and I've always been a Nintendo fangirl. Fuck, I even had a Wii U for Christ's sake. To me, I think the PS Vita is the ultimate Persona handheld, as no matter how you look at it, the Vita, other than the PS4, is the only way to play the dancing games on an official console. Persona 4 Golden runs at 30 FPS, but offers the original experience that has since been ported to PC. Originally, the game on PC had this really weird bug due to de novo anti-piracy, where when going for an all-out attack, the game would lag. I also personally experienced very occasional crashes, but at the time my PC was a $300 budget piece of crap PC. But this bug and most issues in general have been eliminated with the new and improved version, which can be found on the Switch, PS4, and Xbox. Fucking hell, I can't read! Which can be found on Switch, PS4, and Xbox, which adds a quick save feature allowing you to at any time save and suspend your game while mid-dungeon. I don't know why you'd do that and you couldn't just go ho-em. And you can also revisit social links, which is a cool quality of life feature. I'm sure going forward, a game like Persona 6 will incorporate this feature. However, these features don't really mean much, especially on a portable system, where if you need to suspend your gameplay, you can very easily put the system to sleep mode and go do what you need to do. For me, the dancing games have always been highly enjoyable because I enjoy rhythm games. However, due to my residency in Europe, a majority of the Persona Dancing Games DLC was unavailable to me. And the ways that Persona 4 Dancing was locked behind a code or purchase bonus for the Dancing All Night collection was a bit of a slap in the face, but thankfully Persona 4 Dancing does have a physical edition on Vita, and its meaningful DLC is available, thankfully. But DLC and gameplay aside, Persona 4 Dancing is a full canon visual novel X rhythm game spin-off to Persona 4, taking place after Persona 4 Golden. Narukami revisits Inaba and escapades ensue. Although unpopular to some fans, Persona 4 Dancing is one of my most favorite spin-offs. I'd even place it higher on the tier list than some mainline Persona games. And so with 3 dancing games, Persona 4 Golden, and all of the PSP Persona games, the PlayStation Vita is the ultimate Persona handheld.
This is cool and all, but what about home console? Isn't this the ultimate Persona console?
Well, I guess the PSTV, it's just a Vita without a screen that you hook up a controller to. It's also less than $100 if you know where to look. It looks a bit crunchy for modern standards and loses the whole games don't look like shit because of the smaller screen, so limited appeal, but it's an option, right? Fun fact about the PSTV that I'll never get over is that Nam's Persona 4 playthrough was recorded on the PSTV, then days later the PC port came out. Atlas, you never fail to shock and surprise in good and bad ways, as of recently mostly bad ways, but you know, I'm praying for the redemption arc being someday. And I suppose I'd be lying if I didn't mention the backwards compatible PS3 being up there as a contender, as it is able to play all of the Persona games from 1 to 5, including the Arena spin-offs. But it really depends on which versions of Persona 1, the 2 duology, 3, and 4 do you want to play. Do you really want to spend upwards of $400 just for the console without any games? Budget is something I'm taking into consideration when talking about these things. I've only had positive experiences with the PlayStation Vita. I modded it back in 2021 and fell in love with the system while I was in college. I'd played it every chance I could. While it was so small and light and the battery and games are so good, the same couldn't be said about the Steam Deck or the Nintendo Switch Lite even, due to how big they are. I don't think talking about niche emulation systems are fair. I'm always using official hardware like the Vita and the PSP to play PSP games, or PS2 games on the PS3 with the backwards compatibility for playing games. Yes, there are systems that can emulate Vita and even Switch games. So that was it. Will you be buying a PlayStation Vita, the ultimate Persona console, or is what you have already good enough? Oh, I always forgot to mention there's a special edition Persona 4 Dancing Vita. I'll buy one someday and it can go alongside my Japanese Persona Q 3DS. I'm a Chris Jesse, like and subscribe to see more crappy video essays about Persona. I do have some bigger videos in the works, so subscribing now means you don't have to later. You can also see my videos early alongside bonus content for just $1 a month if you join my Patreon alongside these lovely names on screen now. Also, I'm a small creator, so I read and respond to nearly every comment. I love you all, bye!